Hannah Kim pressed her back against the cold concrete wall and tried to control her breathing. The small data chip in her pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Inside that tiny piece of metal was information that could save hundreds of lives. She just had to get it to the safe house on the other side of the city. The streets of New Bizen were not safe anymore. 3 months ago, the aliens had come from the sky in ships that blocked out the sun. They called themselves the Kethri Empire, and they wanted Earth to surrender. When humanity said no, the bombing started. Hannah was 19 years old. Before the invasion, she had been studying art at the university. She wanted to paint beautiful pictures and maybe teach children someday. Now she carried secret messages for the resistance instead of paintbrushes. The world had changed, and so had she. She looked around the corner carefully. The street was empty except for the burned remains of cars and buildings. Smoke still rose from some of the ruins. The aliens had fancy weapons that could melt steel and stone like butter, but they had not expected humans to keep fighting after their cities were destroyed. "Hannah, are you there?" The voice came through the small radio clipped to her jacket. It was Bioram Choi, her best friend since childhood. Bioram was supposed to meet her at the old marketplace in 10 minutes. "I'm here," Hannah whispered into the radio. "Are you safe?" "Yes, but there are alien patrols everywhere. They're looking for someone." "Maybe they know about tonight's mission." Hannah felt her stomach tighten with fear. The mission was simple but dangerous. She had to deliver the data chip to Daehyun Park, the leader of their resistance cell. The chip contained information about alien supply routes that Young-Soo Lee had stolen from their computers. If Daehyun got this information, he could plan attacks that would hurt the enemy badly. "We have to try," Hannah said. "People are counting on us." She left her hiding spot and started moving through the ruins. Her feet made no sound on the broken pavement. The resistance had taught her how to move like a ghost. She had learned many things in the past 3 months that no art student should ever need to know. The marketplace was 5 blocks away. Before the war, it had been full of people buying fresh food and talking with their neighbors. Now it was just empty stalls and scattered garbage. Hannah used the broken walls and overturned tables for cover as she made her way toward the meeting point. She was almost there when she heard the sound that made every human freeze with terror. It was the low humming noise that alien vehicles made when they flew overhead. Hannah dropped to the ground behind a pile of rubble and held her breath. The alien patrol craft landed in the center of the marketplace with a soft thud. Its metal surface was smooth and dark like the shell of some giant insect. A door opened in the side, and 3 Kethri soldiers stepped out. Hannah had seen aliens before, but they still made her skin crawl. They were tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like it had never seen sunlight. Their eyes were large and black, and their faces had no expression at all. They wore armor that seemed to be made of the same dark metal as their ships. The aliens carried weapons that looked like long silver tubes. Hannah had seen what those weapons could do. They shot beams of light that could cut through anything. When they hit a person, there was nothing left but ash. One of the aliens was different from the others. He was taller and his armor had more decorations. Hannah realized this must be an officer. The alien pulled out a small device and spoke into it in their strange language. The words sounded like metal scraping against stone. After a moment, the device made a beeping sound. The officer nodded and pointed toward the place where Hannah was hiding. Her blood turned to ice water in her veins. They knew she was there. Hannah started to crawl backward, trying to get away without making noise, but it was too late. The aliens were already walking toward her hiding spot. Their movements were smooth and confident, like cats hunting a mouse. "Human," the officer called. Out in English, his voice was cold and mechanical. "We know you are here. Come out now and you will not be harmed." Hannah knew he was lying. The aliens had never kept their promises to humans. She kept crawling, looking for another way to escape. There had to be something she could do. Then she heard Bioram's voice behind her. "Don't move." Hannah turned around and saw her best friend standing 20 feet away. Bioram had her hands raised above her head. An alien soldier was pointing his weapon at her back. "I'm sorry, Hannah," Bioram said. Tears were running down her face. They caught me 10 minutes ago. They said they would kill me if I didn't help them find you. The alien officer walked over to where Hana was hiding. He was even taller up close, maybe 7 feet tall. His black eyes looked down at her without any feeling at all. "Stand up, human," he said. Hana stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to look the alien in the eye. She would not show fear, even though her heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. "You have something that belongs to us," the officer said. "I don't know what you're talking about," Hana lied. The alien tilted his head slightly, like a bird studying a worm. "Search her," he told one of his soldiers. The soldier grabbed Hana's arms and held them behind her back while another alien went through her pockets. It only took a few seconds for them to find the data chip. The officer held up the small piece of metal and examined it. "This contains stolen information about our operations. You humans think you are very clever, stealing from us and hiding in your ruins, but we always find you in the end." He put the chip in a pocket of his armor and looked at Hana again. "What is your name, human? Hana Kim?" "Well, Hana Kim, you and your friend are coming with us. We have questions for you, many questions." The aliens forced Hana and BORM into their patrol craft. The inside was all smooth surfaces and blinking lights. There were no windows, so Hana could not see where they were going. The craft lifted off silently and flew away from the marketplace. As they traveled, Hana thought about Daeheim and Young-Soo and all the other people in the resistance. They were still out there, still fighting. The aliens could capture her and torture her and even kill her, but they could not stop the human spirit. Humanity would never surrender, no matter what the cost. She looked over at BORM, who was crying quietly in the seat next to her. Hana wanted to tell her that everything would be okay, but she could not lie to her best friend. They both knew what happened to humans who were taken by the aliens. Very few of them ever came back. The alien ship was bigger than anything Hana had ever seen. When their small patrol craft docked inside it, she looked out through the opening and saw a space so huge that clouds formed near the ceiling. Hundreds of other ships were parked in neat rows, and thousands of aliens moved around doing their work. "Welcome to the Destroyer of Worlds," the officer said as he pushed Hana and BORM out of the craft. "This is where you will spend your final days." 2 alien guards took them through long hallways filled with strange machines and blinking computer screens. Everything was made of the same smooth, dark metal. The air smelled like electricity and something else that Hana could not identify. It made her nose burn. They stopped at a door that opened by itself when they approached. Inside was a small room with 2 metal chairs and nothing else. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all white and perfectly clean. There were no windows and no decorations. It was the most empty place Hana had ever seen. "Sit," one of the guards said. He pushed Hana into one chair and BORM into the other. Then both guards left and the door closed with a soft click. Hana and BORM sat in silence for a long time. There was nothing to look at and nothing to do. The light came from the walls themselves, but Hana could not see any light bulbs or switches. After a while, she started to feel like the white walls were moving closer to her, even though she knew they were not. "I'm sorry," BORM whispered. "I'm so sorry, Hana. I didn't want to help them find you." "It's okay," Hana said, even though it was not okay. She understood why BORM had done it. Anyone would have done the same thing when faced with death. "We're in this together now." Hours passed. Hana tried to count the time, but it was impossible without any clocks or windows. The room was completely quiet except for the sound of their breathing. She started to wonder if the aliens were just going to leave them there forever. Then the door opened again. The alien who walked in was the same officer who had captured them, but now he was not wearing his armor. Without it, he looked even more strange and frightening. His gray skin was covered with small scars, and his long fingers ended in sharp points like claws. "My name is Commander Veltar," he said as he sat down in a chair that rose up from the floor. "I am in charge of learning about human psychology. You two are going to help me with my research." Hana said nothing. She had been told by the resistance leaders that if she was ever captured, she should not talk to the aliens at all. Every word could give them information that would hurt other humans. I know what you are thinking, Veltar continued. You believe that if you say nothing, you will protect your friends. But you are wrong. We have been studying humans for months now. We know how your minds work. He stood up and walked over to a section of wall that suddenly became transparent. Through it, Hannah could see space and the planet Earth far below. Her home world looked small and blue and beautiful. Smoke was rising from several places where cities used to be. Look at your planet, Veltar said. We have conquered 47 species in this galaxy. All of them surrendered when they saw our power. But humans continue to fight even when there is no hope of winning. This interests me very much. Hannah stared at Earth and felt her heart break a little. How many people had died while she was sitting in this white room? How many more would die before this was over? Other species fight until they realize they cannot win, Veltar went on. Then they submit and accept their new place in our empire. But humans are different. The more of you we kill, the harder the rest of you fight. Why is this? He walked back to his chair and sat down again. His black eyes focused on Hannah like two pieces of cold glass. You will tell me about human resistance groups. You will tell me where they hide and how they communicate. You will tell me the names of your leaders and the locations of your weapons. And you will do this because I am going to show you things that will make you wish you had never been born. Veltar touched something on his chair and the room changed. The white walls became screens showing videos of human cities being destroyed. Hannah watched buildings melt and people run screaming through the streets. She saw children crying for their parents and soldiers fighting with weapons that could not hurt the alien ships. This is what happens when humans resist, Veltar said. Every day that your species continues to fight, more of you die. If you tell me what I want to know, I can make recommendations to stop the killing. Your cooperation could save millions of lives. Boram started crying again. Please, she said, please don't hurt us. We'll tell you whatever you want to know. Boram, no, Hannah said firmly. Don't listen to him, he's lying. Veltar smiled, and it was the most terrible thing Hannah had ever seen. Am I lying? Let me show you something else. The screens changed to show the inside of another white room just like theirs. In the center of the room was a human man tied to a metal table. Aliens in medical uniforms were standing around him with instruments that Hannah did not recognize. This human was captured yesterday, Veltar said. He also refused to answer our questions. Watch what happens to humans who do not cooperate. The aliens on the screen began using their instruments on the man. Hannah could not see exactly what they were doing, but she could hear the man screaming. The sound came through speakers in the walls and filled the room where she and Boram were sitting. Stop it, Hannah said. Stop showing us this. I will stop when you start talking, Veltar replied. Tell me about your resistance cell. How many people are in it? Where do they meet? Hannah closed her eyes and tried not to listen to the screaming. She thought about Daehyun Park and how he had trained her to be strong. She thought about young Su Li and his brilliant plans to hurt the alien supply lines. She thought about all the humans who were still fighting, still hoping, still refusing to give up. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. Veltar sighed and touched his chair again. The screaming got louder. You are making this harder than it needs to be, he said. But I have all the time in the world. Humans, unfortunately, do not. The questioning went on for hours. Veltar asked about weapons and hiding places and secret codes. He showed them videos of torture and death and destruction. He promised to stop the killing if they would just give him the information he wanted. Hannah said nothing. Boram cried and begged and eventually started giving him small pieces of information that she hoped would not hurt anyone. She told him about safe houses that had already been abandoned and resistance members who were already dead. Good, Veltar said after Boram revealed the location of an old weapons cache. You see how easy it is? Your friend is being smart. She understands that cooperation is the only way to reduce suffering. He turned to Hannah again. Now it is your turn. Tell me about the data chip you were carrying. What was on it? I don't. No, Hana said. I was just supposed to deliver it. To whom? Someone who isn't there anymore. Veltar stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to the door. I can see that you need more motivation, he said. Do not worry. I have many ways to help humans find their voices. Tomorrow we will try some different methods. The door closed behind him, leaving Hana and Bioram alone in the White Room again. Bioram was shaking and could not stop crying. Sorry, she whispered over and over. I'm so sorry. I couldn't help it. Hana reached over and took her friend's hand. It's going to be okay, she lied. Everything is going to be okay. But deep in her heart, she knew that nothing would ever be okay again. Tomorrow would bring new horrors, and the day after that would be even worse. The aliens would keep hurting them until they broke or until they died. Still, she would not give them what they wanted. She would protect her friends and her family, and her species for as long as she could, even if it killed her dad, especially if it killed her. Hana did not sleep that night. The lights in the White Room never dimmed, and there was no way to tell if it was day or night outside. Time seemed to move differently in this place, like thick honey dripping from a spoon. Bauram finally stopped, crying, and fell asleep in her chair. Hana watched her friend's face and remembered when they were children playing in Bioram's backyard. They used to pretend they were brave warriors fighting monsters. Back then, the monsters were imaginary, and the fights always ended with both of them laughing. The door opened at what Hana guessed was morning. Commander Veltar walked in with 2 alien guards. He looked at Bioram, who was still sleeping. Wake her up, he told one of the guards. The guard touched Bioram's shoulder with his weapon, and she jerked awake with a gasp. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Today we will have a more serious conversation, Veltar said. I hope you both slept well, because it may be the last peaceful sleep you ever have. The guards grabbed Hana's arms and pulled her to her feet. They dragged her out of the White Room and down a different corridor. This one was darker and smelled worse. The walls were covered with pipes and wires instead of smooth metal. They stopped at another door, this one made of thick steel with small windows. Through the glass, Hana could see a room full of terrible machines. Some of them had sharp edges, others glowed with strange lights. All of them looked like they were designed to cause pain. This is my laboratory, Veltar said as they entered. The room. This is where I study human responses to various stimuli. You are going to help me learn about the limits of human endurance. In the center of the room was a metal table with straps and wires attached to it. The guards forced Hana to lie down on the table and secured the straps around her arms and legs. The metal was cold against her skin, and the straps were tight enough to cut off her circulation. Veltar picked up a device that looked like a silver pen with wires coming out of one end. This will stimulate your nervous system directly, he explained. It can produce any level of pain I choose, from mild discomfort to agony that would normally cause immediate death. But it will not actually damage your body, so we can continue for as long as necessary. He placed the device against Hana's arm. At first, she felt nothing. Then came a tingling sensation like tiny needles pricking her skin. That is level 1. Veltar said, there are 100 levels. Most humans begin talking by level 15. The strongest we have tested made it to level 43 before their minds broke completely. The tingling became burning. Then the burning became fire, eating through her muscles and bones. Hana bit down on her lip to keep from screaming. Tell me about the resistance cell you work for, Veltar said calmly. How many members does it have? Hana said nothing. The pain increased. Who is Daehyun Park? Veltar asked. We found his. Name in your friend's memories. Where does he hide? The pain was like being struck by lightning while drowning in acid. Hana's body tried to arch away from the table, but the straps held her down. She could taste blood in her mouth from biting. Her tongue. Level 20? Veltar announced. You are doing better than most, but we have only just begun. Hours passed. The pain climbed higher and higher until Hana could not think about anything else. Her world became nothing but suffering. She forgot about Earth and the resistance and even her own name. There was only the fire in her nerves and Veltar's voice, asking the same questions over and over. Tell me about young Su Li. What kind of scientist is he? What weapons is he building? Hannah tried to speak, but only screams came out. She had never imagined it was possible to hurt this much and still be alive. Every cell in her body was on fire, and the fire kept getting hotter. Level 60, Veltar said. Most impressive. Your species has remarkable pain tolerance. But everyone breaks eventually. Everyone talks in the end. Through the haze of agony, Hannah saw Beorem being brought into the room. Her friend was crying and struggling against the guards who held her. Stop hurting her! Beorem screamed. Please, I'll tell you anything you want to know. Just stop. I will stop when she tells me what I need to know, Veltar replied. He increased the power again. Hannah's vision went white. She could hear her own voice screaming, but it sounded like it was coming from very far away. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird trying to escape. The data chip contains supply route information, Beorem shouted. Young Su Li is a computer expert. He hacks your systems and steals your files. The safe house is in the old subway tunnels under the university. Please stop hurting her. But Veltar did not stop. He seemed fascinated by how much pain Hannah could endure without dying. He kept asking questions, but now Hannah could not understand the words anymore. Language had become meaningless noise. Level 85, Veltar said with something like admiration in his voice. Remarkable, simply remarkable. I have never seen anything like this. Hannah's body began to shut down. Her heart stuttered and skipped beats. Her breathing became shallow and rapid. Blood ran from her nose and ears. Please, Beorem sobbed. She's dying, you're killing her. Humans do not die easily, Veltar said. This one is particularly strong. But you are correct. Her body is beginning to fail. How interesting. He turned the device to its highest setting. Level 100. Hannah's heart stopped. Her breathing stopped. Her brain stopped. The pain stopped. Everything stopped. Veltar checked the readings on his instruments and nodded with satisfaction. Time of death. 1423 ship time. Cause: complete nervous system failure due to induced overstimulation. Total duration of interrogation: 6 hours, 14 minutes. He looked down at Hannah's still body. Take her to the medical bay for examination. I want a complete autopsy. This specimen showed unusual resistance to pain. I need to understand why. The guards unstrapped Hannah's body and carried it away. Beorem watched them go and felt something break inside her chest. Her best friend was dead, and it was partly her fault. She had given the aliens information, hoping to save Hannah's life, but it had not mattered. Do not be sad, Veltar told her as he cleaned his instruments. Your friend died for science. Her sacrifice will help us understand human psychology better. Soon we will know exactly how to break your species' will to fight. Ram was taken back to the White Room, but now she was alone. She sat in her chair and stared at the empty chair where Hannah had been sitting just hours before. The silence was terrible. In the medical bay, alien doctors examined Hannah's body with their strange instruments. They took samples of her blood and tissue. They scanned her brain and heart and bones. They wrote reports about human anatomy and pain tolerance and the effects of extreme stress on biological systems. Then they put her body in a storage chamber and forgot about her. They should not have forgotten. At exactly 15 o'clock ship time. 37. Minutes after Hannah Kim died, alarms began screaming throughout the alien ship. Emergency lights flashed red in every corridor. Computer systems crashed and restarted randomly. In the medical bay, the storage chamber where Hannah's body had been placed was empty. The door was still locked, and there were no signs of forced entry. The body had simply vanished. Veltar arrived at the medical bay running, with guards close behind him. What happened? He demanded. Where is the human specimen? The alien doctors looked at their instruments in confusion. We do not know, Commander. The body was here, and then it was not. Our sensors detected no movement, no energy signatures, nothing. Veltar stared at the empty chamber. In all his years of studying conquered species, nothing like this had ever happened before. Bodies did not just disappear. The dead did not simply vanish into empty air. "Search the ship," he ordered. "Find that body, it must be somewhere." But the body was not on the ship anymore. The body was not anywhere anymore, Hannah. Kim was somewhere else entirely, and she was no longer dead. The first alien to see Hannah again was a guard named Kolvax. He was walking through the ship's lower decks when he turned a corner and found her. Standing in the middle of the hallway, she looked exactly the same as when she had died, except for two things. First, her body was slightly transparent, like looking through water. Second, she was glowing with a soft white light that came from inside her skin. Kolvax stopped walking and stared. His weapon fell from his hands and clattered on the metal. "The floor, you are dead," he said in his own language. "I saw them carry your body away," Hannah smiled at him. It was not a happy smile. "I was dead," she said, speaking perfect Kethri even though she had never learned their language before. "But I came back. Do you know why?" Kolvax could not answer. His voice had stopped working. "I came back because I have something to do," Hannah continued. "I came back to keep a promise. I told your commander Veltar that you do not understand. What you have done, now I am going to show him." She took a step toward Kolvax. As she moved, the lights in the hallway began to flicker. The computer panels on the walls sparked and went dark. "Tell Veltar that Hannah Kim is coming for him," she said. "Tell him that humans do not stay dead when we have something to live for." Then she walked through the wall and disappeared. Kolvax ran to the nearest communication panel, but it was not working. None of the electronics in that section of the ship were working anymore. He had to run 3 decks up before he found a working communicator to report what he had seen. Nobody believed him at first, but then other aliens started seeing her too. A technician working in the engine room found Hannah standing next to the main power core. She watched him work for several minutes without saying anything. When he finally noticed her, she smiled and waved. Then she touched the power core with her hand. The entire ship lost power for 10 minutes. A pilot in the fighter bay saw her walking between the parked aircraft. Everywhere she stepped, the fighter's computer systems shut down. By the time she left, 50 of the ship's best combat fighters were completely useless. A communications officer discovered her sitting in his chair, reading through classified messages. When he tried to stop her, she looked at him with sad eyes. "So many humans have died because of these orders," she said. "Did you ever think about that when you sent them?" The communication officer tried to grab her, but his hands passed right through her body. Hannah shook her head sadly and began typing on his computer. Every message in the system was deleted in seconds. Word spread quickly through the ship. The dead human girl was walking through their corridors. She could appear and disappear at will. She could pass through solid walls and closed doors. Worst of all, she was breaking their technology just by being near it. Commander Veltar was in his private quarters. When she finally came for him, he was studying the recordings of Hannah's interrogation, trying to understand how she had endured so much pain for so long. The videos showed her screaming and convulsing on his table, but her eyes had never lost their defiance. Even as she died, she had not broken. "Fascinating," he said to himself. "Simply fascinating." "I'm glad you think so," a voice said behind him. Veltar spun around in his chair. Hannah was standing by his desk, looking exactly as she had in life except for the glow and the transparency. Her eyes were the same brown eyes he remembered, but now they held something that made his skin crawl. "You are dead," he said, just as Kolvax had said. "I killed you myself." "Yes, you did," Hannah agreed. "It hurt very much." "Do you want to know what it felt like?" Before Veltar could answer, pain shot through his body like lightning. It was the same pain Hannah had felt on his table, but somehow worse because now it came with the memory of everything she had suffered. Veltar fell from his chair and writhed on the floor. "Stop," he gasped. "Please stop." "I cannot stop," Hannah said sadly. "This is what you gave me. This is what I carry now. The pain you caused me will never go away." The pain vanished as suddenly as it had come. Veltar lay on the floor, gasping and shaking. "How?" he whispered. "How are you here?" "I do not fully understand it myself," Hannah said. She sat down in his chair and looked at him with curious eyes. When I died, I should have been gone forever. But I was not ready to go. I had promises to keep and people to protect, so I stayed. She gestured at the broken computer screens around the room. Your technology is very advanced, but it does not understand what I have become. My presence disrupts your energy fields. Your machines cannot function when I am near them. Veltar struggled to his feet and back toward the door. What do you want? I want you to leave, Hannah said simply. I want you to take your ships and your soldiers and go away from Earth. I want you to never come back. That is impossible. We have our orders. Then you will all die, Hannah said, and her voice was like winter wind. Not today and not tomorrow, but soon. Do you think I am the only human who has died with unfinished business? Do you think I am the only one who will come back? As if summoned by her words, other figures began to appear in the room. They were transparent and glowing like Hannah, but Veltar could see that they had once been human. There was an old man with kind eyes, a young woman in a soldier's uniform, and a small child holding a stuffed animal. This is Jinho Park, Hannah said, pointing to the old man. You bombed his house while his grandchildren were visiting. This is Mi Young Song. She was defending a school when your fighters shot her down. And this is little Sunan Lee. He was only 6 years old when your weapons found him. The spirits surrounded Veltar, and he felt the weight of their anger like a physical thing. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. We are all here for the same reason, Hannah continued. We died protecting the people we loved. We died fighting for our home. And death could not stop us from finishing what we started. Veltar tried to run, but the door would not open. The electronic lock had failed, just like every other piece of technology in the room. Please, he begged. I was only following orders. I did not want to hurt anyone. But you did hurt people, Jinho Park said, speaking for the first time. His voice sounded like an echo from a deep cave. You hurt many people. You killed my grandchildren. You destroyed my school, Mi Young Song added. 50 children died because of you. You made my mommy cry, little Sun Min said. His child's voice was the most terrible sound Veltar had ever heard. She cried, and then she stopped. Breathing, the spirits moved closer. Veltar felt their cold touch and saw the pain in their eyes. These were not monsters or demons. They were ordinary people who had been pushed beyond all limits. They were victims who had become something more powerful than their killers. What do you want from me? Veltar whispered. Nothing, Hannah said. We do not want anything from you anymore. We want you gone? The lights in the room went out. When they came back on a moment later, the spirits had vanished. Veltar was alone, surrounded by broken machines and melted computer screens. He ran from his quarters and did not stop running until he reached the bridge of the ship. Admiral Zimpak was there, shouting orders at technicians who were trying to repair damaged systems. Admiral, Veltar gasped. We have a problem. A very serious problem? I know about the human ghost, Zimpak said without looking at him. Half the crew has seen her. She has disabled 60% of our combat systems and erased most of our operational data. It is not just one ghost, Veltar said. There are others, many others, and they are all angry. Zimpak finally turned to look at him. The Admiral's face was calm, but his eyes showed fear. How many? He asked. I do not know, but I think it might be all of them. Every human we have killed. They are coming back. As if to prove his point, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Reports came in from every deck. Human. Spirits were appearing everywhere, passing through walls, disrupting systems, and terrifying the crew. The dead had returned to fight for their world, and they were winning. Back on Earth, Young-Soo Lee was working in his hidden laboratory when the radio crackled to life. He had been monitoring alien communications for months, trying to understand their technology and find weaknesses in their defenses. What he heard that night changed everything. Emergency on all decks, came the panicked voice of an alien officer. The dead human is in the main computer core. She is accessing our navigation systems. All ships report similar incidents. Request immediate assistance. Young-Soo sat up straighter. In his chair? Dead human? What could that mean? More messages followed, each one more desperate than the last. The aliens were reporting system failures throughout their entire fleet. Computers were crashing, weapons were malfunctioning, and their crew was terrified of something they kept calling the spirits. This is impossible, Young-Soo muttered to himself. But as a scientist, he knew that impossible things sometimes turned out to be true. He just had to figure out how they worked. He was still listening to the alien transmissions when Hannah appeared. In his laboratory, Young-Soo jumped out of his chair so fast that he knocked over his coffee cup. The hot liquid splashed across his equipment, but none of it mattered because Hannah Kim was standing 3 feet away from him, glowing like a star. "Hello, Young-Soo," she said with a smile. "I have so much to tell you." "Hannah?" Young-Soo whispered. "But you single quotes doctored you? Days ago? Are you dead?" "Yes, I am dead, but I am also here. It is complicated." Young-Soo stared at her transparent form and tried to make his scientific mind accept what he was seeing. "How is this possible?" "I was hoping you could help me figure that out," Hannah said. "I know what happened, but I do not understand why it happened. When I died, I should have been gone forever. Instead, I woke up somewhere else, somewhere between life and death." She sat down in the chair across from his desk, though Young-Soo noticed that the chair did not move under her weight. "Tell me what you remember," he said, pulling out a notebook and pen. If this was really happening, he needed to document everything. "I remember the pain," Hannah said quietly. "Commander Veltar tortured me for hours. He wanted information about our resistance cell. I refused to talk, so he kept increasing the intensity until my body could not take any more. And then I died. My heart stopped, my brain stopped, everything stopped, but somehow part of me kept going. I found myself in a place that was not quite anywhere. I could see the alien ship, and I could see Earth, but I was not really in either place." Young-Soo wrote frantically, trying to capture every detail. What did this place look like? Like being inside a computer, almost. I could see streams of energy connecting everything. The alien ships, the planet, even individual people. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Energy connections," Young-Soo repeated. "That sounds like quantum entanglement on a massive scale. I do not know what that means, but it sounds right. While I was in that place, I realized I could follow the energy streams. I could go anywhere I wanted just by thinking about it." Young-Soo's pen stopped moving. A crazy idea was forming in his mind, but it was so impossible that he almost did not want to say it out loud. "Hannah," he said slowly, "what were you thinking about when you died? What was the last thing on your mind?" "I was thinking about all of you," she said without hesitation. "I was thinking about Dae-Hyen and you and Bo-Ram and everyone else in the Resistance. I was thinking about how I had to protect you. I was thinking about how I could not let the aliens win." "Love and duty," Young-Soo whispered. "The strongest emotions humans can feel. What do you mean?" Young-Soo stood up and began pacing around the small room. His mind was racing with possibilities. "I have been studying alien technology for months," he said. "Their computers use quantum processors that can store and manipulate energy at the subatomic level. But there is something they do not understand about quantum mechanics." "Which is what?" "Consciousness might be quantum too. Human consciousness, I mean. The way our brains work, the way we think and feel and remember, it might all be quantum processes that exist on the same level as their technology." Hannah tilted her head. "I still do not understand. When you died, your body stopped working. But your consciousness did not disappear. It became pure quantum energy, held together by the strength of your emotions. Your love for us and your determination to protect us gave your consciousness enough structure to survive without a physical brain." Young-Soo stopped pacing and looked at her with amazement. "You are not a ghost, Hannah. You are the next step in human evolution." Before Hannah could respond, another voice spoke from the corner of the room. "He is correct, but it is not that simple." "Both?" Hannah and Young-Soo turned to see Dae-Hyen Park standing in the doorway. But like Hana, he was transparent and glowing. Daehyun, Hana jumped up from her chair. What happened to you? The same thing that happened to you, Daehyun said sadly. The aliens found our safe house yesterday. They killed everyone inside, including me. But like you, I was not ready to go. Young-soo sank back into his chair. If Daehyun was dead too, then the resistance had lost both of its most important leaders. Do not look so worried, Daehyun said with a grin that was exactly the same as. When he was alive, dead does not mean defeated. In fact, I think we might be more dangerous now than we ever were before. How many others? Hana asked. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Every human who has died with love in their heart and a job left unfinished. We are all connected now, all part of the same energy network that Young-soo described. Young-soo looked from one spirit to the other. This is incredible. You are saying that human consciousness can survive death if the emotional connections are strong enough? That is exactly what we are saying, Daehyun confirmed. But there is more. We can share information instantly across any distance. We know everything that every other spirit knows. And we can interfere with alien technology in ways they cannot defend against. Because their machines operate on the same quantum level as your consciousness, Young-soo said, understanding finally clicking into place. You can literally reprogram their computers with your thoughts. Exactly, we have been doing it all day. Their weapons do not work anymore. Their navigation systems are sending them in circles. Their communication networks are completely scrambled. Hana smiled, and for the first time since her death, it was a truly happy smile. They think they can conquer humanity through fear and violence, but they have given us something much more powerful. What is that? Young-soo asked. They have given us a reason to never stay dead. As if summoned by her words, more spirits began appearing in the laboratory. Young-soo recognized some of them, resistance fighters who had been killed in recent battles. Others were strangers, civilians who had died defending their families. All of them glowed with the same inner light. All of them had the same determined expression. And all of them were connected by bonds of love and duty that death could not break. The aliens made a mistake, Daehyun said. They thought killing us would end our resistance. Instead, they have created an army that cannot be killed, because it is already dead. Young-soo looked around at the gathering spirits and felt something he had not felt since the invasion began. Hope. What do you need me to do? He asked. Keep fighting, Hana said. Keep the living humans organized and moving. We will handle. The aliens. How? Daehyun smiled grimly. We are going to show them what happens when you threaten something that humans love. We are going to teach them that some bonds are stronger than death. The spirits began to fade, returning to their work of destroying the alien fleet. But before Hana disappeared, she turned back to Young-soo one last time. Tell everyone that we are still here, she said. Tell them that love never dies, and neither do the people who fight for it. Then she was gone, leaving Young-soo alone, with his instruments and his theories and the absolute certainty that humanity was going to win this war. The aliens just did not know it yet. Admiral Zimpak stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched his mighty fleet fall apart around him. 3 days had passed since the human spirits first appeared, and the situation was getting worse every hour. Half of his ships could not move because their navigation systems had been corrupted. The other half could not fight because their weapons had been disabled. His communications network was so scrambled that he could barely talk to his own officers, let alone coordinate with the rest of the invasion force. Status report, he demanded. From his second-in-command. Sir, we have lost contact with 47 vessels. The spirits appear to be focusing their attacks on our most important ships first. The supply ships, the command carriers, the heavy destroyers, they are all dead. In space. Zimpak clenched his claws in frustration. In his 50 years of military service, he had never faced an enemy like this. How do you fight ghosts? How do you kill something that is already dead? What about the human prisoners? He asked. Can we use them as leverage? Sir, the spirits do not seem concerned about our prisoners anymore. In fact, they have been visiting the detention centers and comforting them. The human prisoners are no longer afraid. They sing songs and tell stories as if they are at a celebration instead of awaiting execution. Before Zimpak could respond, the lights on the bridge began to flicker. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in as many seconds. Every alien on the bridge felt their skin crawl with the unmistakable sensation that they were being watched. Hannah materialized in the center of the bridge, but she was different now, brighter, more solid. And she was not alone. Dozens of other spirits appeared with her. Daehyun was there, along with soldiers and civilians and children. They formed a circle around the alien officers, their combined light making the bridge as bright as daylight. "Admiral Zimpak," Hannah said, her voice carrying easily through the large space. "We need to talk." Zimpak drew his sidearm and pointed it at her, even though he knew it would do no good. "You are responsible for this chaos. What do you want?" "I want you to understand what you have done," Hannah replied calmly. "You came to our world thinking you could conquer us through fear. You thought that if you killed enough of us, the rest would surrender. That strategy has worked on 47 other species," Zimpak said. "Why should humans be different?" "Because," Daehyun said, stepping forward, "you do not understand what humans are really made of." The spirits began to move, walking through the alien officers and their equipment. Everywhere they passed, computer screens showed images from Earth, not the burning cities and devastated battlefields that the aliens expected to see, but something else entirely. The screens showed humans helping other humans, families sharing their last bit of food with strangers, children playing in bomb shelters while their parents stood guard, doctors working around the clock to save lives, teachers reading stories to frighten students, ordinary people doing extraordinary things because they loved each other. "This is what you tried to destroy," Hannah said, gesturing at the images. "This is what we died protecting. And this is why we came back." She walked over to Admiral Zimpak, and he felt a chill that went deeper than cold. It went all the way to his soul. "You made us into something new," she continued. "Something you cannot understand or control. You turned our love into power and our deaths into weapons. Every human you kill becomes another spirit who will fight you forever." More spirits appeared on the bridge. Hundreds of them now, maybe thousands. They filled every available space and spilled out into the corridors beyond. Men and women, old and young, all glowing with the same inner light. "We are all connected now," Daehyun explained. "Every human who has ever lived, every human who has ever died defending what they loved. We share the same purpose and the same power." The alien computers began showing more images. These were scenes from throughout the galaxy, on worlds that the Kethri had conquered long ago. But now those worlds were changing. The conquered peoples were rising up again, inspired by stories of the human ghosts who would not stay dead. "Your empire is falling apart," Hannah observed. "Species that surrendered decades ago are remembering what it means to fight for freedom. They have learned from our example that love is stronger than fear." Zimpak looked around at his officers and saw terror in their eyes. These were hardened military veterans who had fought in 100 wars, but they had never faced anything like this. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. "Leave," Hannah said simply. "Leave our world and never come back. Leave all the worlds you have conquered and never return to any of them. Your time as conquerors is over." "And if we refuse?" The spirits all smiled at the same time, and it was the most frightening thing Zimpak had ever seen. "Then we will follow." "You?" Daehyun said. "We will follow you to your home world and to every colony you have ever built. We will haunt every ship in your fleet and every city on your planets. We will show your people what we showed you, that there are things worth dying for, and dying for them makes us stronger, not weaker." "You cannot fight an entire empire," Zimpak protested. "We are not fighting an empire," Hannah corrected him. "We are teaching one. We are showing you that love creates connections that death cannot break. We are proving that when you kill people who die protecting what they cherish, you do not destroy them. You transform them into something much more dangerous." She gestured around the bridge at the hundreds of spirits. Every person you see here died because they loved someone more than they feared you. And now we are all connected by that love. We share knowledge, we share power, and we share purpose. The purpose being what, exactly? Zimpak asked. To make sure that no one else has to die the way we did, Hannah said. To make sure that bullies and conquerors learn that there are consequences for their actions. To prove that the universe belongs to those who build and protect and love, not to those who destroy and dominate and hate. The spirits began to fade, but their light remained. It seeped into every computer system, every weapon, every piece of technology on the ship. Within minutes, the entire flagship was dead in space, just like the rest of the fleet. You have 24 hours, Hannah said as she prepared to disappear. 24 hours to begin your withdrawal from human space. After that, we stop being patient. And then what? Zimpak demanded. Hannah's smile was sad but determined. Then we start visiting your worlds the way we visited your ships. We show your families what war really costs. We make sure every Kethri understands exactly what their empire has done to innocent people. She paused at the edge of visibility. You think we are monsters now because we came back from the dead, but we are not monsters, Admiral. We are just people who love something more than we feared death. The real monsters are the ones who kill people for loving. The spirits vanished, leaving the aliens alone with their broken ships and their broken dreams of conquest. 23 hours later, the Kethri fleet began its withdrawal from Earth. The invasion was over. Humanity had won, not through superior weapons or clever tactics, but through the simple power of refusing to let death end their fight for what they loved. In the weeks that followed, word spread throughout the galaxy. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned death itself into a weapon. Species that had been conquered by the Kethri began to rebel. Inspired by the story of the ghosts who would not rest until justice was done, the Kethri Empire, which had dominated this part of the galaxy for centuries, collapsed within a year. Their former subjects were no longer afraid of dying for freedom, because the humans had proven that dying for something you love does not end the fight. It transforms it into something eternal. On Earth, Young Su Lee worked with the surviving resistance leaders to rebuild their world. The spirits appeared less often now, but they never disappeared completely. They watched over their people and their planet, ready to return in full force if humanity was ever threatened again. Hannah visited Young Su one last time, appearing in his laboratory as he worked on plans for a memorial to honor all those who had died in the war. You do not need to build monuments for us, she said with a gentle smile. We are not really gone. We are just ... different. Will I see you again? Young Su asked. Whenever you need us, she promised. Whenever humanity needs us. Love creates bonds that nothing can break. Not distance, not time, and certainly not death. She began to fade, becoming more transparent with each passing second. Remember us not as the dead, she said as she disappeared, but as the people who loved this world so much that dying could not make us leave it. And then she was gone, returned to the space between life and death where the spirits waited and watched and remembered. They had kept their promise to protect humanity, and they would keep it forever, because some things are stronger than death, and love is the strongest of all.